This is the EGC 20k Age of Empires 4 tournament. We are here to witness the final 16 generals in battle, and one of them's about to be eliminated. Legenda Duorum Imperatorum. Hello and welcome to the final match between legends. My name's Anuki, but please send all of your affection to our generals today. Settling in the south, they've danced in the blue flame. It's MarineLord settling in the south. And if we take a long trip up in the north, having washed all of their linen in blood red, it's Probe. Finally, we're gonna see who is better. Is it the Yorkshire North, or the only way is Essex South? The map is, of course, Hill and Dale, a map with very defensible features. 3 uphill entrances that for a small amount of wood can be palisaded up early, which would prevent cavalry raids, but we are unlikely going to see that. This is a very tight squeeze here with the forest spawn in the middle entranceway, and we have this upper ledge here, which would be fantastic for an outpost to overlook and grant a lot of vision outside of the cliff edges. The last entrance being the wider one where a gold vein sits. On the opposite side of the map, we have berries on one of the entrances. We don't have a forest on the middle entrance to MarineLord's base. Gold just sitting outside, and it's fairly cheap, like I mentioned, to wall this section off. You're probably looking at about 50 wood maximum. I would probably estimate 35, 40 to be more specific. Scout on its way out, and the last entrance, again, relatively easy to wall up. And we already saw Probe and MarineLord fight each other as friends in a mirror match. They started very similar. France is quite predictable in that sense, and so is England. So there's many reasons to doubt seeing longbows rushing across this landscape, which means whilst our players build up and scout each other out, we can twiddle our thumbs and play a round of Halo Infinite, also on the Microsoft Store, whilst we wait. Oh, in fact, we can do the bit where we talk about the EGC and the plans for the Age of Empires 4 future. It's like an infomercial. So, if you're interested in competitive Age of Empires 4, you can check out the EGC, the Elite Gaming Channel Discord. The link is in the video description. There's gonna be weekly events and prizes. They are the ones hosting this mega launch event, and it is showing to be amazingly promising. Everyone's saying, RTS is back! And we all feel it too. Likewise, I'll be documenting many of the games and packaging them up into full-scale coverage so you don't miss all of the great games that occur. It does take a bit of time, but I do think it's worth it because we'll be able to look back years in the future from now and see how the game has changed, how strategies and tactics and the game itself has evolved. Now, I don't do this for money. I'm a complete idiot just for fun. These videos are not monetized. I want to do lots of fun things in the future, and for that, I'm gonna need you. Yeah, that's right, probably you. And since we have even more time to go on, I'd like to explain one of the productions I plan to do in the future that you can get involved in. And it doesn't matter how good or bad you are at the game. I want to get everyone involved. It's for everyone to participate in, and we're going to be doing Civilization Wars, Total War style. You will choose who you fight for, whether it's China, England, Mongols, France, Japanese, Greek, Aztec. Just trying to cover the future Civs releases, so this video is age-proof. Players will fight 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s against other civilizations to conquer a map turn-based style. And that's the general idea. That's the best explanation I can give. There are more rules involved, but if it sounds interesting and you'd like to get involved, come along to the Ironcast Discord. Alternatively, if you're interested in making Age of Empires content and just want some production tips, feel free to ask. We're all just Age of Empires 4 players on this earth, and I think it's great when we can help each other out. And if that isn't a good reason to join, then you can just sign in to discord.me/Ironcast and call me a pleb, and then sign out. So there's something for everybody. Tuning back into the game, if you're just listening and not watching right now, maybe you're watching this on your car radio. Probe has walled off, summoned a galactic monster, but MarineLord swiftly dispatched it with his laser infantry, who were then crushed by the size of the monster. MarineLord going to build a second town center. A discovery has been made. They can't wall up their south entrance too easily because some bloody berry bushes block the path. That's awkward. Second town center will almost, in a sense, be the wall for now. It might look risky, but MarineLord has scouted already, and both players know kind of what to expect. We do have that second town center going down for Probe now, between the berries and the gold. They are looking very snug inside their base, up upon the hill. And I'm sure MarineLord is thinking, why didn't I get a choky tree point? They'll also soon discover that the other entrances have been closed off to the public. It doesn't look like MarineLord is too interested in spending the wood to wall off for the time being, knowing that Probe isn't going to be attacking soon. Now, Probe does run the risk here of allowing MarineLord to safely extend out further from their hill. Once those natural nearby resources dry up, generals are going to want to secure wood and gold inside the valley. MarineLord will wall up the northern entrance, their most vulnerable point at the moment. It's still early to say, though, that Probe is giving up map control, even with this teeny tiny front wall completely locking themselves in. The scout just gets out in time so they can resume their duty. I'm sure gates will be made shortly so they can get in and out. We're over 7 minutes in now, and I can tell you, this is gonna be a long one. It's gonna take an especially long time to get through that wooden wall with a scout torching the thing. MarineLord does have some longbows. They're just gonna investigate. They do find a scout, but the scout will trot on. Longbows will put martial law on Probe, just letting Probe know that they have military. And please stay inside, it's for their own good. Probe now scouting around, sees deers are being collected, getting some updated information, and having a little go at war themselves. Always wanted to experience what it is to use my sword. Scouts often don't get a chance to attack. When commanders are taking this long to focus on their economy, they are able to better sustain an army past that 10-minute mark. I mean, the loss of life is going to be huge, but the plants benefit from this, as will our need for entertainment. The questions that arise, though: will they be looking to get to the Castle Age fast? Might it be a strong Feudal Age push? What will support the longbows? Will anyone build an outpost on a hill? Why am I so alone? And we don't need too much time to speculate. We know from the previous match we are dealing with generals that have a high caliber of skill, that they aren't going to leave each other alone. In fact, we have a few units moving out from MarineLord already, and Probe has a few units to defend with. Probe wants Castle Age because they're walled in safe. MarineLord wants Castle Age because they're extending out and collecting more resources. MarineLord can't enter Fort Probe without a battering ram or security clearance cards, and they won't have either of those yet. And Probe is most likely going to try and defend just based on a personality assessment test of this match. They aren't ready to attack MarineLord yet. So yeah, Castle Age does well, it doesn't just make sense, it seems inevitable. It seems like it's the only choice either of these two have. And we're definitely going to see some more town centers too. We got a blacksmith safely tucked away at the back here for MarineLord, wanting to get those ranged attack and ranged armor upgrades. Those will be very important for England. It's not just a war on the battlefield, it's a tech war, an arms race. The little Red Riding Hood Longbow Brigade picking on MarineLord's scout, basically telling him to get off my lawn. Oh, Probe's got a lumberyard built at the front gate forest. These little beaver people are going to be cutting down Mother Nature's wall. And as always, I'm obliged to provide a health and safety disclaimer. Do remember to keep an eye on your wood lines, which act as a wall. We have seen, and we will probably continue to see in the future, enemies blaze through deforested areas right into someone's village. And what a complete and senseless waste of life that unfolds. MarineLord has delegated a scout with the longbow this time. Still sending soldiers to roam. Keep an eye on Probe's comings and goings, at least from the main entrance. Can't help but think slapping an outpost around here would be a totally baller move. I think MarineLord has caught wind of Probe's scout. They're trying to locate them. They know it went south. Will it continue down there? It's just about to pop into view. A hail of arrows. Wow, excellent tracking skills. And the longbow, they're so proud of what they did. All that cheering. I don't know if anyone else has noticed how excited everyone is after winning a completely one-sided fight. Frankly, I gotta say it's pathetic. They should be ashamed of themselves. Basically, a GG easy is what they're doing. Ooh, Probe's longbow are on the move, spotted by MarineLord's scout. MarineLord taking advantage of that forest, hoping Probe would come close enough that they'd get the first strike advantage. And if they let them get closer and attack nearer, there is a chance that they could kill all of Probe's longbows as they tried to retreat back to safety. The Red Riding Hood Brigade, wondering what their job is. What did I sign up for? Running around. That's apparently it for now. A couple of stables from Probe. This is excellent. Horsemen, I think, are still too weak of a choice against longbow, unless in large numbers. Horsemen are only light armor, and getting caught in those palings is a death sentence. Heavy armored knights, they can push past that pain, so there's only a few reasons to see stables now. Either Probe's preparing for castle and getting knights, or they're gonna get horsemen and try and raid MarineLord's villages, or they're gonna try and flank the longbow with superior tactics. MarineLord's longbows wailing on the palisade gate, and it would eventually go down, but it seems they're getting bored of doing that. The White Tower here from MarineLord. This will be the first thing any visitors see trying to gain entry to the base. It overlooks incredible sights such as the gold mines. Interesting that MarineLord is actually considering some defense here, but the other option would be the King's Palace, which is just a glorified town center, and MarineLord doesn't need to squeeze out an extra town center to save time, energy, and cost doing so. If they wanted another town center, they could get one without trouble, so instead, why not take the White Tower? Just as Probe actually gets the King Palace, placing it right next to a giant rock. And I get the feeling they intend to use that stone for castles. Castles everywhere, castle doctrine. MarineLord, again, trying to bow down the wooden palisade gate. Knock, knock. Wait, that's a joke. Oh my god, that was incredible! Anyway, Probe kills the scout, and I'm still not going to get my wish to see archers firing down from the cliff edge, though I feel Probe would want to scout around themselves to give them all the vision that you would want to feel comfortable doing that, as well as have more longbows in the first place. Fighting with high elevation has no benefits in this game. It would just look cool. So the numbers being fielded at the moment are still an issue, as if you were fighting on low ground. Though whilst I say there is no height advantage, it doesn't mean cliffs are meaningless. They block movement, so archers are very protected from melee and cavalry that way. We have a siege workshop for MarineLord. They want to be able to say, come out and play, Probe, if that is your real name. We might just see Springalds, though, not terribly great at busting down walls. A trebuchet is expensive, and I wouldn't feel comfortable protecting one of those with just longbows. Probe has come out to play without the need for any siege engines, and they make for the stealth forest. And if MarineLord had stayed there, MarineLord would have been in trouble because of the surprise horsemen coming out. And it's gonna be quite a hard lesson for these horsemen to learn, as they will discover a white fricking tower. Probe doesn't know about this yet. They're going in blind, thinking they're gonna surprise MarineLord. And I'm kind of wondering if Probe was dancing outside with a longbow. That was all just a ruse. Probe was saying, hey, look, I only have longbow. Horsemen? No, what do they know? I'm not creating horsemen. No, I only have longbow. And now the horsemen arrive. MarineLord greets them at the grand entrance, the White Tower, and all the longbowmen light the horsemen up. Probe is committed. What a tragedy. Pardon my sheep, but blessed be thy name as we commit these brave horsemen to the grand entrance of MarineLord's massive White Tower, where they can spend all of their days raiding as many villages as they want. In all seriousness, though, yeah, it was a failed attack from Probe, but it's merely a blip in the scheme of things. They were not reliant on it being successful. MarineLord has not only found a siege workshop and where the longbows are, they've found the king's palace. And as I was going to say, Probe is going to be able to replenish their military back to a competent level. Although MarineLord is heading in this direction, are they going to move up the hill? I don't see the logic in that. It's more likely that they would want to go down here. Though after hearing the horn back at their base, they're going to be recalled to defend. Probe having a go at these outposts. Just going to be able to torch them down. That's right, Probe. Start small and work your way up to the White Tower. Lots of noise in the middle of the map. The invention of the mangonel must be the cause of the stir. There's also more outposts in the northern realms keeping watch, ensuring that Probe doesn't leave, and an incomplete tower up here. The mangonel is a frightening weapon of war, but I think Probe is equipped enough to deal with it. Whether it's cavalry and or siege equipment, MarineLord still trying to get the drop using these stealth forests. No scout allocated here. All the while, Probe is building up, and I was mentioning earlier after the attack on the White Tower, they've got the economy to support this level of production, and they're adding more archery ranges too. And their laborers over in the siege workshop have built a mangonel. Riders at the ready. Seems like they've got an objective in mind. It's a volatile situation. The armies are passing each other, and it's almost 20 minutes in, and the first real battle is about to start. Those riders we saw moments ago could come up behind MarineLord. The priests put their faith in the Lord, and the Lord delivers upon them arrows of death. Is MarineLord in danger? They do have a lot of archers. The blue siege equipment looks out of place, but it's safe from the rear flanking cavalry. MarineLord turns on the cavalry first. Probe's archers are targeting the Springald, which means the Springald is MVP. They are soaking so much damage. The siege equipment for Probe firing over the forest and able to hit the archers. We've got the bonfires down as well, providing some very slow healing. MarineLord is uncomfortable with the position that they're in, losing all of their siege equipment and taking a hefty blast from that mangonel. From a tactical point of view, Probe had the advantage, and whilst they will force MarineLord to retreat, there was certainly more potential for Probe to use their longbow and cavalry. And this is something else that MarineLord does as well. They like to branch units off and harass whilst doing a large attack, which is the main attack, and then lots of these little secondary split-offs from the group to try and divert attention. But as for that main battle, the first one, it went pretty well for MarineLord. They kept calm. That was a tense scenario to find themselves in, and they could have lost a lot more than they did. More spearmen being requisitioned in response to seeing more cavalry, and back up to 2 springalds and a mangonel. The wounded longbowmen will be treated for their injuries from the previous battle, and it appears that Probe is making their way across the map. We have a few cavalry units that have just stopped short of the stealth forest, although their vision is short. Even if they did go right to the edge of the stealth forest, I'm not sure if that see MarineLord's army, and it could be pretty brutal if both of them march into melee. Probe's got their mangonel set up ready to fire, but MarineLord has their units already spread out before the battle, and unlike Probe, who is stepping on toes, they take a full load of rocks. They won't be able to put up much of a fight now. Their mangonel also lays wrecked. Victory quickly claimed by MarineLord. Probe will fire backwards on retreat, but Probe did have more cavalry somewhere. And if they were to join, they could maybe surprise MarineLord's advance. Another mangonel arrives for Probe 2, setting up behind the longbows. Any moment now, there we go. The cavalry has arrived. MarineLord has found themselves in a pinch. Probe is confident that they can even stand in the face of a mangonel shot. The cavalry dart towards the siege machine, torches in hand. Probe orders the longbow to scatter. And those extra stables have come in handy to reinforce in the midst of battle. An incredible victory for Probe. Maybe it's too early to call, though. MarineLord is kiting backwards, and the Sprigald isn't rolling backwards, it sets up to fire. A few spearmen are rallied here, but they're gonna need to gather in larger numbers to fight the heavy cavalry. The longbows will assist, another Springald will join. Each shot will at least carve out a third of a cavalry's life. For the longbow, it's then just a few more shots to kill. More units being rallied. Probe still looks like they have amassed the larger army here, and we are fighting closer to Probe's production facility. A couple of citizens appear to have got lost. The mangonel destroyed, sniped by the Springalds. The Springalds also explode. More light cavalry on its way. MarineLord will retreat, getting some distance away from Probe's longbows. They could turn on the cavalry. They do. They only have light armor specialization. MarineLord is only fighting the cavalry now, since Probe's longbows came out of range. Another Springald was lost from MarineLord too, and we're now just outside the White Tower. This battle has traveled across the map. And Probe has gathered up even more light cavalry for a charge. They must be careful not to enter the range of the White Tower. What a beautiful piece of architectural annihilation. There's a line in the sand now. Probe cannot cross it without the right tools or proper equipment. And I love that there's two spearmen on guard near the gold. Nice day, Barry. Sure is, Gary. Probe re-enters the White Tower's range. They want 1 kill, even if it costs them 3. And another target dummy explodes. MarineLord wants to increase production. All those buildings being constructed back there, and Mangonel also jumps out of the siege workshop instead of a spring out this time. And Probe scatters and scrams. MarineLord sending in the villagers first, wanting to build a keep. In the background, we can see Probe is amassing another horseman force whilst holding MarineLord off, and the villagers getting bowed down. Another 3 arrive. It appears Probe is conceding, and what started out as a great victory has turned into something very grey. Berkshire Palace is Probe's Imperial Age landmark. It's got double the amount of arrow slits and a 50% weapon range increase. But is there the best place for it? We do have some traders moving around here for MarineLord 2. The castle's hard at work, constructed during that massive battle, and during that massive battle, the Wingard Palace got built. You can get a very cheap knight and trebuchet from that, so we can expect to see that the Wingard army being the source of future trebuchets. A large cavalry army has been summoned in the north by Probe. Are they trying to strong-arm their way through, knowing MarineLord doesn't have a wall? And, oh dear, 2 horsemen arrived way too early. Total nerds. And just an off note, MarineLord appropriated 3 sublime relics in their exquisite monastery and a buttload of farms. Here comes that charge. They have to flow through the buildings and a hail of arrows. The light cavalry, though, are fast on their feet. Sacrifices have been made, and they've made it through. What can they get from this? Is this really the time to be killing villagers? Probe will have to kill a lot, or be so disruptive, because food is in abundance for both generals. It's not a matter of cost, but one of time, and replacing villagers with so many town centers will not take long. For such a relatively small amount of cavalry, this could keep MarineLord occupied mentally. Perhaps Probe is looking to accomplish something else whilst this is happening. There's no more room at the Pork Scratchings Inn. But the new and improved Spear Guard are here, and they will have to resolve the issue. There's no way out for this cavalry. It was a one-way ticket. It is, however, nice to get a good look at MarineLord's settlement after being away for so long. With the new castles MarineLord has down, their villagers can enjoy some security at least. A few already chopping wood and mining gold, and a priest is joining the military. Seems like MarineLord has a mission in mind to strike back, and all those spearmen will be joining up with the main frontline force. Vision is good for MarineLord too. They can see a lot in the north thanks to these outposts. Even a villager is going to admire that one. Probe looking to branch out, putting their own castles upon the world. And a very brave priest for Probe trying to capture the sacred site. More minor raids as well, as Probe is just trying to spread out the action and distract MarineLord as this main attack goes on. The bombards very uncarefully placed at the front. The spearmen charge in, and the mangonels look like they have a great shot on all of the longbow. A bombard able to destroy one before it launched its projectiles. And the castle for Probe has come in handy. MarineLord issues the order to retreat. They're gonna need some way to crack open Probe's keeps if they want to progress. MarineLord will also go and secure the sacred site in the north, but they won't last long against those light horsemen. Probe seems to be constantly operating with multiple small divisions of light cavalry, and they don't seem too successful, but you would have to quantify what success is in this regard. If MarineLord looks away at the wrong moment, looking at the wrong place, that could be the moment Probe gets the upper hand. All these keeps on the battlefield, both players will have had access to the network of citadels upgrade, which changes the attack speed bonus from the network of castles from 25% to 50%. They can also produce any unit particularly useful for siege equipment. And now, even though the bombard packs more of a punch, it is worth noting that the trebuchet outranges it. It doesn't do that much less damage than the bombard either, so if you wanted to try and fight at a greater distance, trebuchet might have been better and also significantly cheaper through the Windguard Palace, which also provides you with a knight, a spearman, a longbowman, and a men-at-arms. And it's this last one I feel would be the greatest asset on the battlefield. No one has armor currently, or very little armor, and heavy armor would dampen the effectiveness of the longbows. Men-at-arms would thrive as there's no crossbows on the field, and this is quite possibly the best smallest raid that Probe has managed to accomplish. The bombard on its way to knock down a castle, getting rather close. It'll take some time for one bombard to accomplish this. There doesn't appear to be any villagers around. Meanwhile, MarineLord works on the Berkshire Palace. No protections needed for those. They march their army to the south and have the fire arrows upgrade. It doesn't just increase range damage by 20%, but also damage done by buildings too. It'll help the longbows take on the siege equipment, but the real power is when it's applied to crossbows who have armor penetration. MarineLord and Probe will collide. The palings are down against the cavalry. They will charge straight into them. Whilst the palings were being placed down, the longbowmen could not fire. Seems like Probe has the advantage here. Bringing in 2 more bombards, even more cavalry. MarineLord must retreat. The keep was destroyed, and now access has been gained in the southern entrance to MarineLord's base. What kind of devastation can Probe inflict? The first happy light cavalry raider takes lead, but MarineLord is back. If only to just fire a few shots before retreating again. Lots of heavy artillery. I'm not sure if it is really needed here. Ideally, they want to be shooting at the opposing bombards. And they scoot over, destroying one. They'll surely get the second. More longbows are being rallied in, as well as light cavalry. The light cavalry will bully the villagers off of the wood before striking the longbows. Hitting the siege artillery units would also be useful. Much of the light cavalry has perished, but a new fresh batch arrive on the battlefield. Spears will meet them in combat. There appears to be no end in sight as all military might is devoted here. It is hell on hill and dale. General Probe has lost much of their ranged power. General MarineLord's spear divisions seem to have stopped arriving. MarineLord bringing the villagers back, perhaps to witness them overcoming Probe's army, or to issue the construction of a castle upon where once a lumber mill stood, thus putting a comma on this battle and starting the next conversation closer to Probe's power source. This is clearly a historical battle we are fortunate to lay eyes upon. A legendary tale, one to inscribe into the archives of time itself. Probe could really do with getting fire arrows for themselves. Every longbowman lost who didn't have fire arrows could have made up for a great many a deal that were never created. A magnificent mangonel shot seems to end this next battle. But where one ends, another appears to start. Will this be the new battlegrounds in the forest choke point? Another keep will be erected, essentially a flag being planted showing MarineLord now controls this territory. The two seem happy to throw the lives of young soldiers at each other once more. Probe's light cavalry rides out into spears, then seemingly blocked by their own longbows. It's a tight squeeze, and one that I thought would be advantageous for Probe defending. However, they want to push back and must fight their way out of the choke point, moving their longbows to try and clear some room, making way for the siege equipment. The spears engage the longbow, but their only function ends up being to sponge arrows. MarineLord's longbows are firing so rapidly they are benefiting greatly from the network of castles bonus. Probe has hardly felt the luxury of that bonus. They are outgunned, but they don't want to be outnumbered. This simply cannot last. We are 5 minutes into this non-stop bloodshed. Somehow, though, I don't know if it's by magic, Probe seems to be pushing back. Even when faced with two keeps in the area, they will fight in between both of them. MarineLord and Probe Spring Elves really far at the back, firing over the heads of their friendly troops. The bombards seem gone from Probe. They really should requisition some of them to be able to knock down a castle whilst this battle occurs. And I'm too scared to look at the economic situation that both of these generals are in case I miss the end of this. Probe's issued the order to retreat. These soldiers are perhaps the unluckiest. They will return scarred and traumatized. The other troops will surely not find it moralizing to know what awaits them through the choke point. Hey Sarge, why do they call it a choke point? Well, recruit. No, it's probably saying in a more grisly voice. Well, recruit, because you'll be choking on arrows. I don't know why I was Batman there, but it is an absolute slaughter. You don't need me to tell you that. Another bombard explodes before they can get the castle down. Probe once again retreats. It was a good attempt, but it seems like MarineLord has arrived in overwhelming force. Not only that, But knights are finally here. MarineLord, bring in the heavy armor, which is just gonna puncture right through the choke. I can't help but think if someone had brought heavy armor 10, 15 minutes ago, at the amount of lives that could have been saved. And it's a good job that this game doesn't have blood, because I think we'd all be vomiting right now. There'd be so much that our generals would need transport ships. MarineLord doesn't seem to have any clear instruction for the longbows, just fire at anything that has red on it. The Spring Elves move into position behind the longbows, and they're in the choke point right as a cavalry rush comes straight for them and then backs away at the last moment. I think Probe needs to wait for the army to come through the choke point and try and get that light cavalry behind and get access to those Spring Elves, using them as frontline units. It's not their forte. The Knights, even though they are few in number, are doing very well in this situation. The value that they are providing in damage reduction is just incredibly cost effective. And until Probe gets some armor-piercing units, the only real thing they've got is a single Spring-Eld. General MarineLord, seeing how effective the Knights are, will continue to rally them to this position, and also brings in a mangonel. Probe's units pretty clumped together. They don't appear to be moving. More light cavalry are thrown in. This time with the objective of cleaning out that mangonel. They get sandwiched between the longbows and the knights, both of which are pretty good at killing them. Meanwhile, Probe's longbows are ordered to attack the knights. Those longbow would be better off trying to take out MarineLord's longbows. We see villagers are arriving for MarineLord. Clearly another castle is going to be constructed. On the far left, there's also men at arms making their way into the battlefield 42 minutes into the game. And we've got to remember that men-at-arms, they're just cheaper knights with lower mobility. And often at times, it really feels like men-at-arms are overlooked in situations where a player is very heavy in archers or ranged non-armor penetrating units. So the Mongols' Mangadai or the Rus cavalry archer. Probe is being forced back even further, and on the chopping block is all of their production, at least in this area. And again, I don't want to take my eyes off the battle. I want you to enjoy it. But in the north, there's light stuff going on. There's walls up here with two horsemen just enjoying the peaceful time that that area provides. Woodcutters all around. But here, this is where I think we want our eyes. Looks like a lone soldier got lost in all of the action. And those production buildings stem for miles, all the way from here to Berkshire Palace. Sending their army, or a small part of their army up north. MarineLord will be able to destroy not only Berkshire Palace, but a lot of these production buildings. Somehow resources still appear plentiful. Probe bringing in to rebuild a 5-barreled cannon, extremely short range. Are they even going to get a shot off? MarineLord fires heavily into both of them, and they do not. The mangonels return fire, and that whole left section of the longbow division is annihilated. All these mangonels are just going to keep hurting unless there is a solution, and that is to raise the white flag. Northern England can suck on its chips. It has been defeated. And I declare MarineLord the winner. Although Probe was the bigger person today, they have saved thousands of lives at the cost of their own pride. Bravo. An absolutely incredible match. I thank both Probe and MarineLord for their dedication to the art of gaming, to have given us such a joyful game to watch. Thank you. It was awesome. Now, this was a best of 3. That was MarineLord's second win, which means they move to the quarterfinals. As for me, though, I will move on to the next match to cast. If you've enjoyed this, then why not hop over and talk about this match on the Ironcast Discord. That link again is discord.me/Ironcast. There are no more words that need to be said. We just think about what happened today.